Hi, Phil Aston here from Now Spinning Magazine, and this time it's Deep Purple, Rapture the Deep, the 2025 remix. Before I give you an overview of what I think of the remix, let's have a look inside the package. So this is a look at the Deep Purple, Rapture of the Deep, 2025 reissue and remix. I'm going to look at the 2 CD version. This originally came in the tin from 2005. Those of you might remember it, which is well over 20 years ago now. It just came with an electronic press pack, but the booklet inside was basically the same one that they used in the tour edition, which came out not that much later actually. And it also came with some live tracks and also Things I Never Said, which is one of the best tracks from the album. So this remix version comes in a lovely tactile digipack with a textured sleeve. I think the new colours are really nice as well, with the tracks on the back and obviously the tracks on the side. Sorry, CD2 as well. It opens up into a 3-panel affair with the booklet in the middle. I like the design on the CDs as well. I think that's really nice. And the booklet is also, I think, excellent because I see a lot of these where they just think, well, that'll do. But here they've got a nice essay giving the background to the album, which is 20 years old now. And we kind of see it as like an album that came out that not that long ago. So there's a nice essay which goes through the tracks and the story of the album, talking to Roger Glover about what his feelings are towards the remix, etc. That's by Jeff Barton, who's one of my favourite writers from the Sounds period. And they've got all the lyrics plus a picture of the band from the time as well. So all the lyrics are there for the album itself. And again, the artwork is coloured in. So I think that's a nice feel, another nice picture of the band. And then we've got the credits to the 2025 version as well. And as it says here on the hype sticker, which I put here, 20th anniversary celebration, new mix, new artwork, the album that set the path for Deep Purple in the 21st century, bonus CD with rare jams and instrumentals. And now I'll tell you what I think. So that's a look inside the package and a look at what happened before, where we got to this point. I haven't got the vinyl version, so I'm only reviewing this 2 CD edition. I do have it on vinyl, but this is the old one, and I'll admit I very rarely, if at all, play this. And I very rarely play that. And I haven't really played that often either. Now, I'm a huge fan of the Steve Morse period of Deep Purple. If you're someone that thinks that no Blackmore, no Purple, then you can just bail at this point. And there's no point even commenting. As far as I'm concerned, I love the entire Deep Purple family, every offshoot, and every member of the band has given me a chance to go off and explore and introduce myself to entire back catalogues I would never have bumped into if it hadn't have been for the mothership that is Deep Purple. When I heard that this was being remixed, in some ways I wasn't surprised because there was something about the original mix, and quite a few of my friends said this, coming after Bananas, and we'd had Abandon, we'd had Perpendicular. There was something about this that listening to it, especially on headphones, made you feel incredibly like your ears were tired. It was tiring to listen to it. There was something about the frequency range and also the guitar. There was no... Whereas on Perpendicular, the guitar was really crunchy and in your face. There was something about this where everything was kind of a mush, and it was quite unusual. And also the fact that this is 2005, and the band was saying, I don't know if we want to make another album. It's been 2 years since Bananas. They were without a record deal. And the other thing, of course, remember, many of you will think that this is a recent record, won't you? Because if you're around my vintage, obviously 1974 was a few years ago. Not argument's sake, we'll say 1975 was a few years ago, whereas 2005 was just a few months ago, wasn't it? But it wasn't. It was 20 years ago. So obviously if we go back from 2005 to 1995 to 1985, that gives you the impression, it shows you how time is racing ahead. But there was something about it. It just didn't work. And the only track that kind of, to me, did work was Rapture of the Deep and Things I Never Said, which was seen as a track that didn't even make it on the original album. I also thought that the sequencing was also off. The Money Talks was fine as an opening track, but Girls Like That as a second track was kind of, I don't know, it just, and Before Time Began, which was the last track, was probably the one where trying to work out guitars, keyboards and everything was a mess. So I wasn't that surprised when someone said, we need to remix it. In fact, that's why I bought the vinyl album, which came out a lot later on, because I thought, well, maybe they've tweaked the sound. They didn't. This, they've tweaked the sound. They've remixed it, and they've also tweaked the artwork and the cover. And I know some of you out there love jewel cases, but I like digipacks, and this has got a lovely fireball kind of textured sleeve. I prefer the colours, and you've seen inside it anyway. So what do I think of the remix? I think it's amazing. There's been some kind of cynical things of people online saying, well, you can't polish a turd, it's the same, it just sounds a bit better. I don't agree with any of that, because not only have they remixed it, but they've also resequenced it. So Money Talks opens the album, which it did anyway, but the second track is Things I Never Said, which is the track that didn't even make the official album the first time round. And then the next one is Rapture of the Deep, is track 3, where it was Wrong Man was next on the original album. Sorry, Girls Like That was number 2, and then Wrong Man was next, then Rapture of the Deep. And then after Rapture of the Deep, Clearly Quite Absurd, and then Don't Let Go. But the whole thing has been completely mixed up. The only thing when they come back into being the same is the last track, Before Time Began. The guitars, Steve Morse's guitar is compact, it's separate, it's crunchy, it's heavy, it's right in the mix. You will, for a few moments, think you're listening to John Lord, because this is where Don Airey is really playing the Hammond, where he's not adding in flavours that are Don Airey. He's almost like channeling John Lord, as he wants to make sure he keeps that Deep Purple sound. So when you listen to this, there's more evidence of Hammond organ. There's more space between the guitar, keyboards, and the bass, and the drums sound good and solid. But the real improvement that really comes across here is Ian Gillan. You really realise that Gillan's voice on this album is absolutely fantastic. It was not on the original mix. There was just something about it that was off. But here, it's amazing. And I've played it twice. I don't have the vinyl version, which is a triple album edition, which it'd have to be because the original was a double. So then with the extra CD, which they've also turned into a separate album, the second CD is about 20 minutes long. Now, could they have put anything else on there? The only thing that was put on the 2 edition, well, there were some live tracks, so they could have perhaps put a live version of Rapture on the Deep on, but they wouldn't have remixed that, I wouldn't have thought. And the only other thing, the studio version of the well-dressed guitar was also on the 2 edition, which gives the impression that was also recorded around the same time. But here you have studio jams and rehearsals, MTV, Money Talks, back to back, Before Time Began, and the closing note, which is an acoustic rundown of one of the songs, and it's beautiful. It really shows off Steve Morse's technique, and it's absolutely worth having. The rest are instrumental versions, but they are really interesting, and you will play them more than once, but there is room for more stuff on there, but it's fine. But the key thing is the 12 songs, not 11, because we have Things I Never Said on it, is how this sounds, and also the sequencing. So a lot of work, I feel, has gone into this, and the booklet's good as well. But if you're a fan of the Steve Morse period of Deep Purple, and you have feelings about this album where you thought, like me, there's something about the way it's put together, it could be improved, you'll be amazed. And if you've written it off, I mean, you can stream this, by the way. You can, so you don't have to take my word for it. You don't have to go and spend, I think it's about £20 for the CD and about 50 quid for the vinyl version. Go and stream it and let me know in the comments what you think. But I think you'll be amazed at how this sounds. You won't think it's the same album. You'll think as if they've gone back in and re-recorded it, because all the songs sound so much more powerful. There's so much more emotion in them. Gillan's voice is absolutely brilliant, but it's the guitars and the Hammond really are to the front. It has a much more contemporary and better sound, and it does make you wonder how this would have gone down if it had sounded like this back then. Because the other thing to remember, of course, is it would be 8 years before they made another album, and at the time I remember thinking maybe they just thought, what's the point? You know, there was a lot of people thinking albums were dead and why would you release them? And after the way this one had originally sounded, it almost sounded like they'd half-heartedly kind of thought, well, you know. But this time you can listen to this with headphones on and your ears won't get tired. You'll absolutely love it. And of course, we all know that 8 years after this, they hit their purple patch, literally, and have released one fantastic album after the other. So that is highly recommended. Rapture the Deep, the 2025 remix. Absolutely stunning. Let me know what you think in the comments. And remember, music is the healer and the doctor, so please take care, all of you. Check out the website at nowspinning.co.uk. Please become a patron or YouTube member and you'll get 15% off all merch, mugs, hats, socks, all sorts of stuff. Well, have you got socks? Well, we should have. And remember, we have the best pub in the world called the Now Spinning Arms, where you can meet up with like-minded people twice a month as well. Remember, music is the healer and the doctor. Keep spinning those discs, and I'll talk to you all very, very soon.